Hello. Happy Labor Day to all of you. We are packed. We've got Donald Trump out just last night, within the last few hours, saying some things about ABC that is causing, shall we say, some concern because he does have the power to actually shut the network down entirely. So we're going to talk about that and how he's directing his message right now. Tulsi, by the way, is at it again. Newest purge here, 37 members of the government that had access to certain kinds of intelligence no longer have them, including somebody who was like a big deal CIA agent. So that's not going over so well with some people. All that said, I mean, I think her point is, wait a second, if you were involved in that Russiagate, Obamagate effort, then yeah, there's going to be a price to pay. I mean, John Brennan is finding that out the hard way, right? He's on MSNBC crying his eyes out all weekend. And Missouri is joining Texas. They're looking at redistricting too. How do you like that? You know what? Wow, it's a new day. Welcome to the show. Again, great to have you all here. I want to begin here with ABC News getting hit with a doozy just overnight. The president saying, you know what? Maybe we don't need ABC. Maybe we could be looking at taking away their FCC license. Did you hear that, Bob Iger? And it has a little something to do with, well, this lady right here. You see Donna Brazile, former Fox person, by the way. But don't forget, Donna was the one who got in a lot of trouble because apparently when she was working for CNN, she got her hands on the questions ahead of the debate, and then she transferred those over to Hillary Clinton's team. So, you know, ethically speaking, let's just say she is not in any way, shape, or form a journalist. She is a Democrat Party op. And when you turn, this is CNN's fault, questions over to the Democrat Party up, what do you think is going to happen? All right. So then she wound up getting hired, oddly, by Fox, and then went back to ABC. And now she's on that show on the weekend that George Stephanopoulos hosts. Maybe not for long. We'll talk about that. And Donald Trump came out with this doozy this morning. Why does fake news, ABC's This Week with George Stephanopoulos, have low IQ commentator Donna Brazile on the show? Wasn't she totally discredited when she gave crooked Hillary Clinton the questions to a debate? Yeah, you would think, right? Like, again, you can't do that. But let me just say, political op, had no interest whatsoever in actually doing anything with journalistic integrity or, frankly, any kind of integrity. I mean, look, I know her. Okay, she's a funny lady. She actually is very funny. Really, if you hire her for a speech, she'll tell a joke a minute. But let's be very clear. She's working for one side and one team. And so then you put her on the show as though she's some kind of, fair expert alongside none other than Chris Christie. And he goes on about Chris Christie too. He says, Donna is dumb as a rock and a liar besides. She and sloppy Chris Christie, he really doesn't like the look of Chris Christie, should be fired from a highly discredited ABC fake news. They just paid me $16 million for inaccurate reporting. Now they should pay me more. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President DJT. Listen, they did just pay him $16 million. $15 million for the library, $1 million for the legal fees because Georgie Poo decided to go way out over his keys, ignore his producers, and say something that was very libelous to the man who was then running for president, I guess in hopes that he wouldn't win. But guess what? He gets the last laugh because he won anyway. And now Georgie had to issue an apology, and Georgie's apparently really, really not happy about any of this. I mean, but Donna and Chris Christie, what's funny about it, right? Like, if you think about it, guys, they are trying to put a Republican on to defend Donald Trump. And the best they can come up with is Chris Christie. Despite, he writes, this is last week, a very high popularity and according to many, among the greatest 8 months in presidential history. ABC and NBC fake news, two of the worst and the most biased networks in history, give me a 97% bad stories. That's interesting. He says 97%. I know Media Matters has put it at 92, 93%. Whatever it is, it's above 90%. It's nearly all bad. If that is the case, they are simply an arm of the Democrat Party and should, according to many, have their licenses revoked by the FCC. I would be totally in favor of that because they're so biased and untruthful, an actual threat to our democracy. Wow. Okay, so you see what we're talking about, and he has the power to do that. Brandon Carver at the FCC has the power to do that. because these networks and their affiliates basically exist because they're over federal airwaves, which are controlled by the FCC. So this is a big deal, and this is a big threat. Listen, he has no use for Donna Brazile. I was looking through the show to see like what it is that she said that was so provoking. I think it's like accumulation of things, because she's just been kind of for a while. He says she's really dumb, and we've seen examples of that in the past. I'm just going to say it's not necessarily that she's dumb. I do think the Democrats are pretty dumb, because how could you do what you're doing? I mean, how could you just throw away your entire party like that unless you really were dumb? But, you know, he says she's low IQ. I want to give you a little sampling of one Ms. Donna Brazile.
Donna, as you've worked in several presidential campaigns, it's hard to wrap your head around a presidential campaign that is playing out in criminal court.
George, I've never been here before, and I never thought in the years, almost 30 years that I worked in presidential politics and campaigns, that I would ever have to figure out some talking points when your opponent, in the case of Donald Trump, is sitting in court all day and not on the campaign trail. So you have very little to react from. And what I see coming from what I often refer to as the messaging points from the Democrats is, hey, go ahead and point out what Joe Biden is doing for the American people, how he's lifting people out of poverty, how he's providing jobs, getting industries back on their feet, and don't get into the salacious, lurid details of this court case.
Actually, she might be dumb. I think he's right. I mean, her advice, don't forget, that was before the election. Her advice, and that was before they brought Kamala Harris in, was to just tout all the great things that you were doing for the American people and how great the economy was. I mean, wow, she really is dumb, because there was nothing great about that economy. Let me be very clear. When you're looking at 9.7% inflation, whatever it was, not to mention double digits on the producer price index, there's nothing good about that economy. It was a train wreck of an economy. And then think about what we lived through. We had to be so careful what you said, because we didn't live in a meritocracy anymore. No. You could get picked for a gig just because of your skin color or your sexual preference. I mean, it was a nightmare. It was illegal. DEI is getting wiped out. Bye, DEI. It is over, complete, done. Harvard learned it the hard way. And now ABC is about to learn it the hard way, because there's a big investigation going on into ABC and Disney's efforts to engage in DEI. They were all over it, right? They wanted to make sure that they had certain affinity groups. They wanted to make sure that they had a certain number of people on television that represented a certain number of, you know where I'm going. I mean, this was constant. And now the FCC has said, well, that's actually illegal. You can't give somebody a job just based, it's constitutionally illegal. And so now they're left scrambling. They got rid of the DEI program. But guess what? Brandon Carr said, I'm not just listening and looking at what you guys are doing right now. I'm going into the past. I'm going to go backwards in time. I'm going to see what else you did. So again, he doesn't like her. He thinks she's sloppy. He thinks she's low IQ. I'm telling you, if you think that you're going to sit there and tell us that Joe Biden's economy was just fantastic, you really are low IQ. But then there was this doozy.
Donald Trump is something totally different.
Chris, I think you identified the tariffs as the number one issue. Liberation Day, probably the most consequential day of the first 100 days. Is there an exit strategy for Donald Trump on this? We heard Reince Priebus say basically he's going to double down, but can he make this sort of series of deals that limit the damage?
Well, it depends on what those deals look like, George. And I will tell you that if you look at the reaction of the rest of the world, the biggest problem is that the world now just sees us as an unreliable partner.
Right.
And Donald Trump, I believe, misevaluated that. I think he thought he could come in and bully them and just say, we're the biggest economy in the world, and you may not like what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do it anyway. What he didn't count on was the effect it's had on the bond market as well. And the problem there is that we're now looking at a real potential for stagflation, to have an economy that is in recession, which we're one quarter towards that now. We had a recessionary report in the last quarter.
Although the job market the report on Friday was pretty solid.
Right, so we'll see whether that translates, George, into GDP growth or not. We don't know whether it will or it won't. We'll see next quarter. I hope it does, because that'd be good for everybody. But in the end,
I have to stop him.
most
All right, we're going to get to
economists are
George
now
in just a
saying-
second, but I have to stop him because you know what? The economy is actually not doing that bad. The economy is actually doing pretty good. I'm looking at the new print that came out last week on second quarter GDP. That's the overall size of the economy. Everybody thought it grew 3%. Guess what? It grew 3.3%. That's pretty darn good. Thank you very much. And then you think about wages. They're going up on an annualized basis of 5%. We haven't seen that not any time, that I can think of recently. This is all good news. In terms of the tariffs, for him to say, oh, the bond market's freaking out. Well, guess what? The bond market's not freaking out. And the stock market kept going up and away and continues to do so. We'll see what happens. I don't know if you guys saw, of course, on Friday, late Friday, we did see that the court ruled that, and it's going to go all the way to the Supreme Court. Mind you, it's going to go all the way to the Supreme Court. The court ruled that Donald Trump's tariffs were not legal, but he responded with this. Let me show you here. All tariffs are still in effect today. A highly partisan appeals court incorrectly said our tariffs should be removed, but they know the United States of America will win in the end. If these tariffs ever went away, it would be a total disaster for our country. And he goes on. In other words, he's saying these things, they are here to stay no matter what Chris Christie or Georgie Poo or Donna have to say about it, or the court, right? The lower court. Again, he'll abide by the Supreme Court, but that's where it's ultimately going to go. And I don't know quite the answer to that. We will see. We will see what the answer is to that. But I'll say this, guys, you get an FCC that means business. And I mean it, like not just for this particular show, but for, that other show that's off the air right now that I don't think is coming back.
That again? That was not Obama. The thing about him is that he's so jealous of Obama because Obama is everything that he is not.
Yeah.
Trim.
Yeah.
Smart. Handsome.
Happily married.
And can sing Al Green's song, Let's Stay Together, better than Al Green.
Yeah.
And Trump cannot stand it. It's driving him crazy. Jealousy is not green is not a good color.
That from yesterday. Who knows what happens today? The White House chose to respond to that. And this is what they said. Joy Behar is an irrelevant loser suffering from a severe case of Trump derangement syndrome. It's no surprise that The View's ratings hit an all-time low last year. She should self-reflect on her own jealousy of President Trump's historic popularity before her show is the next to be pulled off air, end quote. Is The View now in the crosshairs of this administration?
Look, it's entirely possible that there's issues over there. I mean, again, stepping back, this broader dynamic, once President Trump has exposed these media gatekeepers and smashed this facade, there's a lot of consequences. I think the consequences of that aren't quite finished. And look, The View's got a lot of challenges there. It wasn't that long ago, I think one episode, one show alone, they had to stop, interrupt the show, and read 4 separate legal notices to try to avoid legal liability. So I'm not surprised to hear people saying that their ratings are struggling.
Well, sir, where does this end then?
Look, I think we need a course correction. It's time for America's legacy broadcasters to return to promoting the public interest. And just recently, Skydance, which is looking to acquire CBS, wrote letters to the FCC committing to serious change, to trying to root out bias, to putting in place an ombudsman that would address these issues, to returning to unbiased, trustworthy journalism. That's where we have to go. And I think we're getting some wins along the way. It's trust but verify at the end of the day. We're not where we need to go. But I think this legacy media really needs to reorient, or they're going to continue to run into issues like Colbert, where it just doesn't make economic sense to run a partisan circus.
Exactly. View, did you hear that? Jimmy Fallon, did you hear that? Oh, Seth Meyers over at NBC, did you hear that? Because he doesn't like you very much either. Neither do I, frankly. I don't like you at all. And I say that as somebody who's lived free or die in New Hampshire, as were you. He actually was in high school with my cousin. Maybe that's why I dislike him even more. You probably don't even know who he is. He has some late night show. Anyway, point being that all of these networks are so insanely negative against Donald Trump that after a while, it's like, okay, you're the little boy who cried wolf. And guess what? America rejected you. And this is one of the things that Brennan Carr said. I mean, these guys are in big trouble. Let me just tell you, because once you lose your FCC accreditation, you're going to lose your license to actually broadcast, which means you are completely out of business. And he's looking at this. He already sent Bob Iger, head of Disney, which owns ABC, a letter back in December, and then he followed it up with one this spring. But one of the critical things he mentioned was that Americans no longer trust the national news media to report fully, accurately, and fairly. So if you don't have a media that's actually willing to show both sides, then why are you allowing them access to the public airwaves? And let me just say, if Brandon Carr decides to take their licenses away, as Donald Trump has suggested he do, again, why is it that ABC and NBC fake news, two of the absolute worst and most biased networks anywhere in the world, aren't paying millions of dollars in licensing fees? He's saying maybe we actually ought to charge them to use those licensing fees. Either that, right? Or take away. They should have their licenses revoked by the FCC, he writes. So any way you slice this, the danger for these networks at this point is that they're going to lose distribution. I mean, maybe it's the best thing that could happen to them, right? Because once you lose the FCC airways, oh gosh, darn it, then you actually have to compete over here. In streaming land. Reminder, subscribe, share, like, do all that stuff. Make a comment. Tell me what you think. I mean, could they hack it over here? Could they actually have any success at all over in streaming land? I don't think so. I mean, they've got a Disney Plus thing that they're trying to get going, and it's just been a disaster. Hulu got folded into all that, or was it Tubi? Forgive me. It's a mess, right? It's a mess. And they can't get that thing off the ground. Gary's metal detecting. Good to see you back in the house on this Labor Day. Wonderful to have you here. I appreciate your generosity. I'm sorry about the ankle surgery. I am very sorry about that, but hopefully you'll be up and running and walking around in no time soon. If they don't have distribution, then they're over. And so he has the power to totally remake their businesses, shut down their businesses, change them forever. And I think they know that. I think they're scared. But if they were that scared, why wouldn't they do anything about it? I mean, why would you still put all these morons on the air? Why would you still be putting The View on the air? Maybe you wouldn't. In fact, my intel is that they're looking at this very hard. The View might actually go away. The View might actually go away because it's a very expensive production to produce. They've got a lot of big salaries. And they got to pay a lot of people on the staff. I mean, heck, you get a live studio audience, for example. And then you get all these people that just sit there and bash the president day in and day out. I'm not even going to play it because I've played it so many times for you, and I know we're all so darn sick of it, listening to Whoopi and Joy and the nauseating things that they say, and then there's no one to push back. Okay, they don't have, it's very interesting over at ABC because who are their conservatives? I mean, at least CNN, it's always like 8 against 1, puts on Scott Jennings, who can actually hold his own. But MSNBC doesn't bother. And ABC doesn't bother. They put on the sort of never-Trumper types like Chris Christie, or like, I can't even remember her name, the woman with the long brown hair that just kind of tries to be nice. Alyssa gets along with everybody there. She can't hold her own against the likes of Whoopi and Joy. She seems quite terrified of them. So you have like this one-sided program, and America's tired of it. America doesn't buy it. And now you're coming up on the new fall season with a president who every Sunday night, going into Monday morning, is saying, you know what, I may take away your FCC license, ABC. I may just get rid of it altogether. So how do you go into the new fall season with a show like The View while you're reviewing it, quote unquote, reviewing it for its bias, and say, yeah, we're going to keep this thing on the air? I mean, again, like, it's just business. Bob Iger, do the sensible thing. Get rid of it. Save yourself and your shareholders a lot of money. Or hire somebody who can actually hold their own against the likes of Whoopi Goldberg. I don't know who that person is, because any smart, intelligent, conservative woman, you're looking at one, wouldn't be so stupid as to go on that show. There's no amount of money that you could pay me to go lug my cookies into ABC News in New York City every day and have to deal with that. It just wouldn't be worth it. So I'm not really sure what their answer is, other than to get rid of the show. And this is what, by the way, Rosie O'Donnell was saying quite recently, that, the handwriting's on the wall. She hates to be the one to have to tell them. But this is the executive's kind of nice way. When they say, we're reviewing this for bias, this is their nice way of saying, we're going to get rid of this show. And I would say, you know what? Donald Trump is sort of single-handedly helping these companies to remake their businesses in more profitable ways. And they ought to all send him a thank you note. Because that show is what we would call long in the tooth. It's been around too long. It's completely diverted from its original goal. No matter how many times they ask these performers, their quote-unquote talent, to, try and do other things. Maybe do some entertainment news. Maybe talk about Taylor Swift. Maybe talk about cultural issues. No. They want to go back to Trump. They're like broken records. It's all they can talk about. They wouldn't even have a show if it weren't for one Donald Trump. Like, they wouldn't. I saw a clip the other day. Actually, Joe Rogan played it, and it was hysterical because it was Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg kissing his you-know-what. They were just like, oh, Donald Trump. This was like from, 15 years ago, 12 years ago. They were like, you are fantastic. You are amazing. Some people say you might even run for president one day. You've seen the Oprah clip, somewhat similar. So they used to just fall all over him. And now he's a dictator. How many times have they told us that? Listen, it's irresponsible journalism. It's not even journalism, right? It's irresponsible television. And it's on our federally controlled, owned airwaves. So you know what? Revoke that license ASAP. Let them compete out in the real world. Let them stream. Let them see if they can be a success. Like us, right? We're coming up on 1 million subs. Thank you so much for all of that, you guys. It's just incredible to see. I want to get to Tulsi Gabbard. I want to get to John Brennan. He's miserable. His life is a living HELL, apparently. Oh, gee, we feel real bad for you. But first, quick shout out to one of our sponsors here on the Trish Regan Show, and that would be Balance in Nature. We love these guys. We love our sponsors because they help make this show come to you every single day for free. Yes, for free, guys. Without them, that wouldn't be happening. And I can tell you also, this is really, really, really good stuff. So without them, I wouldn't be getting the good stuff. Have you ever flipped over the bottle, right, of a supplement and said, what the heck is in this stuff? I see a bunch of ingredients that I can't pronounce, let alone would I ever know what they are? I don't like that, right? And that's why I like Balance in Nature, because you're never going to see crazy things that you can't pronounce or that you don't know. Every single ingredient in their fruits and veggies supplements happens to be exactly what it sounds like. Whole foods, whole vegetables. You have no binders, you have no fillers, you have no artificial colors, just real whole food, gluten-free, vegan-friendly, and picked at peak ripeness. They take 31 different fruits and veggies, they harvest them, and they gently vacuum cold dry them into a fine powder to lock in all that nutrition. It's like in a huge platter of produce. What do you know? Every day, you don't have to do the grocery runs, you don't have to do all the chopping. Lovely, my kind of thing. And right now, when you go to www.balanceinnature.com, you can use my discount code TRISH, T-R-I-S-H, you know how to spell it, for 35% off, plus a free bottle of fiber and spice, and that's on top of free shipping. So go to balanceinnature.com, use my discount code TRISH, T-R-I-S-H, take control of your nutrition naturally. Tulsi Gabbard is no joke. This woman means business, and she's out purging left and right. There was a big purge of like hundreds just not too long ago, and now the DNI chief she actually took away the security clearance, which in some cases results in firing, because if you don't have your security clearances, then you can't actually do the job, especially in the case of one particular Russia analyst. She took away the security clearances of 37 people. I think Kamala was included in that. And here's the story. It's not getting a lot of play, other than for people to say, of course, she's a fascist and this, that, and the other. But this was what it was. This is the story that came out in the Wall Street Journal the other night. Trump Gabbard fired top CIA Russia expert days after Alaska summit. The CIA officer was due to take up a prestigious assignment in Europe approved by CIA Director John Radcliffe, and instead her security clearance was revoked. And not only was it revoked, but Tulsi kind of came out and told everybody who she was, and so then it became, oh my gosh, and now it's this like, ooh, the CIA versus the DNI, and everybody's getting all worried about it. Look, I'm just going to tell you this about Tulsi Gabbard. She went through a lot. Don't forget, this is the woman that she herself was accused of being a Russian spy, none other than by Hillary Clinton. I mean, she used to be a Democrat. Think of that. She used to be a Democrat. She's a member of our military. Can you imagine? I mean, what a heinous thing for them to say. But, you know, Hillary sensed the competition. Hillary didn't want any competition. Hillary decided to move in for the kill. And that meant, oh, well, let's just say what works. Tulsi's a Russian spy. And so she went with that. And I don't think it sat so well with Tulsi. And now Tulsi's in charge. And now Tulsi's revealing everything.
There is irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false. They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though it were true. It wasn't. The report that we released today shows in great detail how they carried this out.
Yeah. So it wasn't true. It was, let's call it Obamagate, right? He brings everybody into his office for this big meeting after Donald Trump wins the election. And he gives everybody strict instructions to make this the top priority, even though they had plenty of evidence that that wasn't true. So why would they do that? Oh, to undermine Donald Trump. To undermine Donald, I guess he couldn't get over the fact that, you know, for goodness sakes, Hillary Clinton, his hand-picked successor, did not win. And so then the answer became, oh, let's do this. I mean, don't forget, this is what they did over and over again. I mean, you had Hillary Clinton on The View, for goodness sake, saying the Russians stole the election. I remember this. What about you?
There is no denying that the Russians interfered in the election. Right. Whether or not they had willing or unwitting help from the Trump team, they interfered. And they did so to help him and hurt me. And they did so to destabilize our democracy. And they have not stopped. I mean, there's been enough public testimony before Congress now by very distinguished, experienced intelligence professionals who all say the same thing. This is a clear and present danger to our country. Yeah. And I think it's important, and I would say this. If the roles were reversed, if I had won the Electoral College and I were in the White House and the intelligence services, I've served with them, I've worked with them, I've read their analysis, both on the Senate Armed Services Committee and as Secretary of State. You know, they don't always get it right, but these are patriotic, hardworking, dedicated men and women. And if they had come to me and told me, you know, we believe that this election was interfered with, we believe that it was influenced, and we believe they are still trying to get into our systems, I would have stopped at nothing. I would have stood up and in front of the country said, even if it advantaged me, I am not going to rest until we know exactly what happened and make sure it never happened.
Yeah, right. Okay, so that was all part of this, you know, the sting op. Tulsi revealed quite a few things in her massive declassification. This is separate from the 37 people that lost their security clearances. I just want to remind you of this, given that we just looked at Hillary Clinton on The View. Apparently, on page 17 of this declassified information, what we learned was that the Russians actually had a ton of dirt on Hillary Clinton, including internal claims among Democrats that Hillary Clinton was on, quote, heavy tranquilizers and suffering intensified psycho-emotional problems. There was evidence of severe health ailments like type 2 diabetes and heart disease. There were internal DNC communications that Obama and others found Hillary's health extraordinarily alarming. And there was evidence of secret messages with religious leaders where she was like basically offering increases in funding from the State Department in return for their support. I mean, you even had European leaders that were not very enthusiastic about this idea that she might become president because they had seen her as Secretary of State. What I find just amazing is this idea that she was on these heavy tranquilizers, suffering intensified psycho-emotional problems, and yet that actually never really came out. And I would only say this, like, hey, if the Russians really wanted to take down Hillary Clinton, you'd think it would have come out, right? No, that didn't. So, it didn't seem to me as though they really had a total preference. I think they liked, being, disturbers. Hey, why not like have America fighting and turning on each other and sure, whatever. Like it was kind of neither here nor there who won, but they enjoyed us getting into this crazy fight. And guess what? Obama did the dirty work for Putin. Heck, like that's what happened. So now Tulsi's coming around and she's trying to clean up the joint. And now we get Tulsi purging the top Russian op. Okay, so the person who was about to go to Europe for her big gig, she's like the Russian expert. She had prepared Donald Trump and apparently everybody else going into the Alaska meeting. Lost her clearance, lost the clearance. And I'm not the identity's out there and plenty of people have revealed that and talked about that. Apparently this particular person was rather public in her I shouldn't, because I'm revealing too much, right? But rather public in acknowledging that there was work being done for the CIA, because apparently in certain online bios, for speeches, it was all out there. Maybe we didn't know that this person was the tippy top one. So now it's out there. Tulsi declassified it, okay? And so people are saying, what's happening between her and Ratcliffe? So once she wouldn't allow this person to have any more access to intelligence, once that was revoked, this person can no longer work for the CIA. And the CIA was just about to promote this person. So now, if you read, this is an article in NBC News, and of course they're loving this. This is the palace intrigue and the drama and this, that, and the other. And this is Radcliffe versus Tulsi. They're saying, wait a second, why didn't she consult with Radcliffe? I think the bottom line here is, and I'm just going to go with my gut instinct, which tends to be right. If you know that somebody is part, and this is what she is alleging, if you know that somebody is part of a scheme to try to delegitimize the president, as Tulsi is suggesting this person was part of with Obama and his entire team, then my thought is, yes, you probably do not want them working in the administration, in the here and now. That is Jonathan Mason. Thank you for the generosity. Great to see so many people here, by the way. Somebody familiar. Good to see you. Peace of my mind. Unc Andy, David, of course. We're kind of, in a special show because it's Labor Day. But Cat Crazy as well. I'm just saying, if you find out that somebody was trying to take your boss down and was part of that, like, wouldn't you want to get rid of them? I think the answer to that is yes, but I'll ask you guys. Would you fire this person if you knew that they had a hand in Obamagate? I think that's perfectly reasonable. She's saying, look, individuals who have violated the trust placed in them by weaponizing, politicizing, manipulating, or leaking classified intelligence are no longer allowed to do so. Period. End of story. So Tulsi means business. She is no joke. She's in charge right now, and poor John Brennan doesn't quite know what to do with himself. John Brennan's looking at this and he's like, wait a second. Think about all those people. It's really actually quite disgusting what they did. There's no other way to phrase that one. It's disgusting what they did. I'll never get over that darn 51X Spooks letter and the Hunter Biden laptop. I will never, ever get over that, because it was such a blatant lie. And what it proved to me was everything I didn't want to think about our government. Look, I'm sorry. I'm still a little Pollyanna in a way, like small town girl from New Hampshire who likes to think that, people are actually doing things for the right reasons. And then when I saw that, and I knew that they were lying through their teeth, that's when I said, gosh, you know what? We got a corrupt system here. And that actually has to change, because you can't live with that level of corruption. And I would just say that Mr. John Brennan, he was one of the biggest, and I mean biggest, perpetrators of all of this. And so he has no excuse whatsoever. Right now, he's all freaking out. He's going on MSNBC over the weekend saying, oh my God, they're making my life tough, because now, oh my gosh, you know how much money I have to pay in legal fees? Do you know how much, they're costing me in terms of my reputation? Well, buddy, I'm sorry. Didn't you do this to yourself? Like, did you need to sign on? Did you need to be part of the 51X spooks thing? I don't think you needed to sign that letter. I think you are completely responsible for yourself. And I'm so darn sick of these stupid Democrats never willing to own up and take responsibility for their own actions. It's symbolic, is it not, in many ways? Mr. John Brennan, in the flesh, crying his eyes out on MSNBC.
If we can't convict someone, we will name them and shame them. And that seems to be largely what's guiding them here, no?
That seems to be the intention, which is to damage individuals. You can damage them reputationally, you can damage them financially, professionally, and so on. And so by putting out these investigations or making these referrals or whatever, it does a lot of damage already, even if it never goes to trial or it doesn't go to a conviction or whatever. And that's the intent. And unfortunately, Donald Trump, who, President of the United States, has tremendous authority and ability to use the instruments of governance. When I was watching that cabinet meeting this week, it was absolutely nauseating that all these individuals who are fawning over him but are so willing to be manipulated and be exploited by him. And you're talking about the Attorney General of the United States, the Department of Justice, that is supposed to be the institution that's going to represent the laws and liberties and freedoms of this country to make sure that they are going to be protected. And so, again, it's very unfortunate that Donald Trump has been able to do this, much different than in his first term, because in his first term he had people who were willing to push back. This time he does not.
People like what? Brennan? Saying things like this. Who was pushing back in the first? Oh, I know. It was Bolton. Bolton, who it turns out had a whole bunch of problems going on. So this is brand new, guys. Okay, so you got this whole thing going down right now in the CIA versus DNI. I think that Tulsi's going to win this round. And you know what? John Radcliffe, if he's smart, he's like, Tulsi, thank you for revealing this, because we don't need this. John Brennan, in the meantime, eat your heart out, because I'm sorry, you made your bed, you're going to lie in it. I guess this is part of the problem with, when you go after someone as maliciously as you went after Donald Trump, you're actually going to pay the price in the long run. But John Bolton was already being investigated. Did you guys know that? This is new, developing. We have now found out that John Bolton was already under investigation. And this is important because, they're saying, oh, it's targeted. It's just because, they don't like him. In fact, the NBC reporter did an interview with Vance and the vice president. She's like, isn't this just personal? Isn't this his vendetta? And Vance is trying to explain, no, actually, this is a real investigation. Watch.
I do want to start with some breaking news. We've learned that the FBI is searching the home of former Ambassador John Bolton, his office as well.
Sure.
Can you tell me, why is the FBI raiding Ambassador Bolton's home and office, and did the White House get a heads up?
Well, so we're in the very early stages of an ongoing investigation into John Bolton. I will say we're going to let that investigation proceed. What I can tell you is that unlike the Biden DOJ and the Biden FBI, our law enforcement agencies are going to be driven by law and not by politics. And so if we think that Ambassador Bolton has committed a crime, of course, eventually prosecutions will come. But as you know, Kristen, this is all part of gathering evidence, trying to understand something that we're worried about. And of course, I'll let the FBI comment on the next stage of the investigation.
What's at the root of this? Is this about classified documents?
Well, again, I'll let the FBI speak to that. Classified documents are certainly part of it, but I think that there's a broad concern about Ambassador Bolton. They're going to look into it. And like I said, if there's no crime here, we're not going to prosecute it. If there is a crime here, of course, Ambassador Bolton will get his day in court. That's how it should be. But again, our focus here is on, did he break the law? Did he commit crimes against the American people? If so, then he deserves to be prosecuted.
As we have this conversation, has Ambassador Bolton been detained, taken into custody, arrested in any form?
So this news just broke this morning, and the FBI, I haven't talked to the FBI this morning. I don't know the answer to that question. I assume that he hasn't been detained and won't be detained until there's a prosecution, if that actually happens.
As you know, Ambassador Bolton is a frequent critic of President Trump's. He's also on Kash Patel's enemies list. The administration has already revoked his security clearance, Secret Service protection. Is Ambassador Bolton being targeted because he's a critic of President Trump?
No, not at all. And in fact, if we were trying to do that, we would just throw out prosecutions willy-nilly like the Biden administration DOJ did, prosecutions that later got thrown out in court. If we bring a case, and of course we haven't done that yet, the Department of Justice has not done that yet. We are investigating Ambassador Bolton, but if they ultimately bring a case, it will be because they determine that he has broken the law. We're going to be careful about that. We're going to be deliberate about that because we don't think that we should throw people, even if they disagree with us politically, maybe especially if they disagree with us politically. You shouldn't throw people willy-nilly in prison. You should let the law drive these determinations, and that's what we're doing.
But so what's amazing, though, is that the reporter has such a hard time grasping that because, you see, the sort of story du jour is that this is all payback. It's nothing but payback, payback, payback. And look, I don't think that there's any love lost. Let me just be really clear between John Bolton and Donald Trump. I mean, John Bolton was kind of an odd pick in that, you know, he really is. He's never met a war he doesn't want to go and engage in. I don't know. I don't get it. You've heard me say this before. I've actually fought with him on the air. We both used to work at Fox together. He was a frequent contributor on my program. And I'm like, I'd rather lose dollars than lives. And I remember him once saying to me, yeah, you tell Jamie Dimon that, the CEO of JP Morgan, see what he thinks. And I'm like, well, who the heck cares what Jamie Dimon thinks, right? Like, Jamie Dimon's not running the country. It's the president that's running the country. And I'd rather lose dollars than lives. I don't think that we should be, that shouldn't be the first like go-to move. Like, why wouldn't you use every financial instrument available to you before you actually start sending troops? So this is a personal sort of philosophical difference that I always had with Bolton. And I think that Donald Trump quickly realized this too. And then when he was gone, he was like, he's gone. And then he tried to publish his book because he's taking all these ridiculous notes. He did publish the book. The judge eventually said, oh yeah, you can publish the book. And it was like 500 pages of torture. The New York Times panned it. They said it was rambling. It actually seemed unhinged. Quote, unhinged was their word, not mine. New York Times, when they were talking about Bolton's book, and that he really did kind of have just this need and desire to always want to go to war. He seemed disappointed when the president would say things like, no, that's too many bodies. That's too many. Even when you're talking about the Middle East, he did not want to lose lives, period. And I know him well enough that I can tell you that is true to his character. And I know Bolton well enough that that's true to his character. Let's watch the president. This is from, well, we're going back in time now, to 2020, June 2020, when Bolton had been fired and was trying to publish his book.
All he wanted to do is drop bombs on everybody. He was one of the many people that got us into the war in the Middle East, which was a big mistake. I said to him, let me ask you, do you think, recently, I said, what did you think? He said, I think we made the right decision. I said, you lost me there. It was the worst decision in the history of our country. I know you may disagree with that. Worst? Well, now you might agree. At the time, you would have, felt differently. But also, the Libyan model, you know what that means, right? Look it up. One of the dumbest things ever said, I think it was said on Deface the Nation, the Libyan model. He said the Libyan model, that set us back. You have no idea. John Bolton was a stupid guy, and he was a guy with no heart. And he also had a statement that he would lie whenever he had to. He has that statement. It's a well-known statement. And I fired him. And I didn't think it was a big deal. And I wasn't around him very much. But what he did do is he took classified information and he published it during a presidency. It's not, it's one thing to write a book after, during. And I believe that he's a criminal. And I believe, frankly, he should go to jail for that.
Judge?
Yeah. So he wanted him to go to jail for publishing that information. Well, here's the kicker. It turns out that this wasn't like some kind of vendetta. It turns out newly discovered, reported actually by the New York Times. John Bolton was already under investigation by Joe Biden. Check that out. John Bolton inquiry eyes emails obtained by foreign government. And it's not clear what foreign government, I'm guessing Iran, but it could be China. We'll find out soon enough. Apparently, he was writing these private emails. I have a suspicion it was probably to his book agent and maybe his book editor, who didn't have a very secure email system. And John Bolton, being kind of mad scientist that he is like firing off emails. I don't know this for sure. I'm just guessing how this might actually transpire. But it turns out he was being investigated by Biden. What do you know? Biden, breaking news, Biden was investigating. Biden was investigating. I'm putting this on the screen for everybody to see. John Bolton, okay? So this is not like vendetta time as much as the NBC News anchor wants to make it that way and others in the mainstream media. No, this is like, hey, you got an issue. According to the story, John Bolton began to pick up momentum. This investigation into Bolton began to pick up momentum during the Biden administration, ladies and gentlemen, dun-dun-dun, when U.S. intelligence officials collected information that appeared to show he had mishandled classified information. Oh, you think so? So this investigation was ongoing. It just so happens that the raid happened under Donald Trump. And so because there was a raid that happened under Donald Trump, everybody wants to jump on him. Immediately I had to listen to Andy McCabe and Brennan and everybody else. Oh, this is a vendetta. No, guys, and you want to know better, right? Because weren't you part of the club? Didn't you used to have security clearance? Didn't you know that John Bolton maybe was in a little bit of trouble? The United States gathered data from an adversarial country spy service. It reads, including emails with sensitive information that Mr. Bolton, while still working in the first Trump administration, appeared to have sent to people close to him on an unclassified system. Wow. So John Bolton is out there firing away on emails, classified information, sending it around. What, because he's working on his book while he's there? Yeah, apparently he was a meticulous note taker, took thousands of pages of notes every time he was in a meeting. I mean, and he kind of was a little sloppy, let's just be honest. Remember that time that he was doing the Colombia thing, or rather, it was in Venezuela. There was some kind of press conference going on. The president came out and spoke, and there was John Bolton with his little notebook, and it said 10,000 troops or whatever it said to Colombia. This is because they were, in John Bolton's eyes, going to take over Venezuela, which, by the way, I'm going to just tell you here and now, I was very close to that story, and I knew a lot of players on all sides, and the president as well. They were never going to send troops into Venezuela. That was like wishful thinking in John Bolton's little head, right? So then everybody freaked out. They saw the troops it was to freak out over nothing because we weren't actually sending troops there. I mean, maybe John Bolton was fantasizing about that. While those searches have raised fresh questions about the extent to which Mr. Trump may be using the Justice Department and FBI to try to punish those he dislikes, the searches meaning the raids, the new details, dun-dun-dun, the case, says the New York Times, present a more complex chain of events. So that's how they want to describe it. It's more complex. Because it turns out it's actually not that complex. He was already under investigation. The investigation is continuing. You can't actually be emailing, Hillary, you listening? Classified information to every Tom, Dick, and Harry. Every book agent that happens to look your way. Money hungry or what? I'm just saying this is not good if this is what it is. We don't know that it's a book agent. Could have been a television producer. Who the heck knows? But whatever he was doing, somehow foreign spies intercepted the emails. It was classified material. And boy, Johnny, you're in trouble right now. So Vance was right. It's not personal. It's just you. It's just you. Boy, oh boy. Some good news coming out of Texas and Missouri that I want to turn to. But first, 76 Research, have you guys subscribed? Please tell me you've subscribed. You get time right now. It's Labor Day. Hopefully you're not working. Go to 76research.com. Use code word $. This is my company. I started with a dear friend, 76 portfolios. You can see all of our portfolios there, American Resilience, Inflation Protection, as well as Income Builders, seeing a lot of upside. We have about 10 to 15 stocks in each one of these, and we do believe in this MAGA economic movement. I think more good stuff is about to happen. So be part of it, okay? And if you can't do the portfolios, just for $1 a month, first 2 months, and it goes to $9.95, just get the newsletter. Okay, because we got lots of ideas. Someone sent a thank you note the other day because one of the picks was up over 80% in the newsletter. I mean, you just want to be part of this in any way, shape, or form that you can. You want to be part of this growing economy. Jasmine Crockett is out of a gig down in Texas. We reported this, of course, on Friday as the news broke. But here's the new wrinkle. Missouri's about to do the exact same thing. How do you like that? Go Missouri. A few more states along the way. Boy, the Democrats are really freaking out. But let's look at Governor Greg Abbott announcing the news. Jasmine, bye-bye.
Hi, this is Governor Greg Abbott. I'm about to sign the law that creates the one big, beautiful map that ensures fairer representation in the United States Congress for Texans. I want to thank Lieutenant Governor Patrick, Speaker Burrows, Senator King, Representative Todd Hunter, Representative Cody Vasut, and all of the legislature who stayed in the Capitol and got this law to my desk. Texas is now more red in the United States Congress.
Wow. So this could be happening a lot. And we're going to get to that. But first, can we take a little last look at her little claim to fame that put her on the map? Jasmine Crockett, ladies and gentlemen, say goodbye.
Ms. Green, for 4 minutes and 21 seconds.
Mr. Chair, point of order.
Who's?
It's me.
Ms. Crockett.
I'm just curious, just to better understand your ruling. If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
A what now?
Chairman, I make a motion to strike those words.
I don't think that's
I'm
Parliament.
trying to find clarification on what quality.
Chairman, motion to strike those
I had no idea
words.
what you just said.
We're not gonna do this. Look, you guys earlier literally just
you just voted to do it.
Y'all did it first, so you don't want to talk about
voted to do it.
Order.
I'm trying to get clarification.
Look, calm down.
No, because this is what y'all do. So I'm trying to get
Ms.
clarification.
Crockett, you're not recognized. Ms. Crockett.
I can't hear you with your yelling.
You don't want
calm
me to
down.
Be, no,
can you please calm down?
Don't tell me to calm down.
Calm down.
Because y'all talk noise, and then
You're
can't
out of
take
control.
Because if I
Look, Chairman,
if I
can
come
we
and
send
talk
outside to
shit
take a
about
break
her,
for 5
y'all
minutes?
gonna have a problem.
Mr.
Chairman.
All right, Chair.
I don't know why
Okay.
you're
Order.
acting
Chair
like
now
that.
recognizes.
Really giving women a bad name there, right? Jasmine Crockett, you know what? I think your party ought to send Donald Trump and Greg Abbott a thank you note for this one, because the Democrats don't need her. I mean, the Democrats are struggling. They don't have any kind of leadership right now. They're saying AOC is the leader of the party, and then Jasmine's like, she's in the running, believe it or not. This woman who can't even speak. This is who the left is putting up as their next big star.
They try to act like, oh, political violence, it's the Democrats and it's the liberals. And it's like, actually, I mean, I'm not going to say that like a left-leaning person cannot be violent, because that would be like crazy to say that somebody can't be. But baby. So like, I mean, this is who aligns with that. So like inherently in like who you are, y'all are violent.
Well, I don't think she'll be bringing the nation together. Baby, you've just been redistricted out of your position. I don't think you're going to get elected in the new district. Sorry, Jasmine. I mean, I realize she's talking about crazy things like Senate, but that just shows you how delusional she really is. She's not electable. And that's good. Right? Because we need to get away from the division and the race baiting and all the nonsense that she was really pretty darn notorious for.
Because when you think about it, Kamala Harris, light years ahead of Donald Trump as it relates to qualifications, as it relates to her overall resume, and as it relates to the fact that she was a lot younger. Everybody said that they wanted to get rid of Joe Biden because he was too old. Then you had a younger, qualified, non-felon candidate. And somehow the people still chose the old white man. So like for me, I don't think it was ever about that.
Yeah. She does her part, shall we say, to fan the flames in a really grotesque kind of way. But you know what? Here's the good news. Texas is getting even more red, okay? Leslie, if you're watching, I know you're really, really happy about that. And here's the thing. There's going to be more states that are going red because Democrats, I'm sorry, they did this for a long time. And now people are saying, we're going to fight back. I mean, they did it. Look at this. I mean, this is an unbelievable chart. Massachusetts, Connecticut, Maine, New Mexico, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Vermont, Hawaii, Delaware. I mean, they have plenty of Republicans in all of these places and yet no representation in Congress. How is that fair, ladies and gentlemen? It's not, because you know what? Barack Obama was pretty talented at the kind of gerrymandering he engaged with. Well, now things are changing and Missouri's paying attention. Missouri now going to follow Texas, their lead. You've got the Texas governor signing redistricting into law, and Missouri now is launching a similar bid, and you can anticipate that more states will follow wherever they can. And boy, oh boy, is this freaking one Eric Holder and former President Barack Obama, who put a lot of this into place to begin with. Ooh, it's freaking them out like you wouldn't believe, so much so that they had to come out with a new commercial.
Hey everybody, it's Barack, and I am here with my good friend, Attorney General Eric Holder, because we're facing an existential threat to our democracy, and we need your help.
Right now, in states across the country, like Texas and Florida, these extreme conservative politicians are announcing and acting on plans to slice and dice House districts with the goal of preserving their own power while diluting the voting power of communities of color.
They're doing the same thing in Ohio, trying to give one-party control over almost 90% of congressional seats.
Rather than facing their voters at the polls next year, they're trying to silence them instead.
Eric and I started the NDRC to win fights like this. So, if you want your voice to be heard in next year's midterm elections and beyond, help us meet this moment and preserve our democracy.
Otherwise, Missouri's going the way of Texas. Woohoo! Okay. I'm sorry. You know, I know two wrongs don't make a right, but listen, they did some bad stuff. And now the chickens are coming home to roost. You know, you guys just shouldn't have gone down this path. It was a huge screw up to do it. And you know what? This country's great. Like, we're an amazing, amazing, amazing country. Think about that. I mean, you think about our history, you think about our past, you think about this 250th anniversary that we're coming up on. You know, I'm going to have to get all my patriotic singing and music out, not just for our millionth subscriber, but for the 250th birthday, because, you know, it's a great nation. We love this country. And you think about all the things that were put into place and all the risks that they took, right? Going back, I mean, even the Fifth Amendment, for example, the ability to protect property, that had never been done. Like ever been done. And you think it's a simple thing, but the truth is it's not. Like, nobody had actually promised to protect the property rights of everyday Americans until our founding fathers. And they want to tear our founding fathers down. I'll tell you, you know what makes America special? It is not the fact that we have the highest living standard or this tremendous wealth, or the fact that we're the hegemonic power of the world. None of that matters. It's not about our wealth. It's not about our power. It is about our people. Our people that have been able to flourish in part because of this tremendous foundation that we have, right? Our founders, they launched this great American experiment for a reason. They were trying to escape tyranny. And then you got these morons out there that want to bring it all back. I mean, really, I'm stunned by it. Let me show you an example. We started the show, of course, talking about ABC News and ABC News's problems. Well, here's one guy that they smartly got rid of at ABC News, in part because he was rather libelous in terms of how he was talking about Stephen Miller in one late night rant. This is the guy that, Trump really had a hard time with in one of the interviews, but he's now got some little Substack, and he tries to say that Donald Trump is the problem. He's the tyranny.
What we're seeing is no question what other countries have seen a lot, what our founding fathers predicted would happen, that a great strong man would all right, not great in the good sense, but great in the power sense, right? Trump is the most dominant figure of our age around the world. Don't underestimate him. He is a world historical figure, and he is the man that we were warned about by the founders, that democracies fall when a man who can captivate the populace wants to exercise the power that's there in the government. And that is what we're watching.
I'm sorry. You understand what we went through, Terry? For goodness sakes, Terry. That's his name, Terry Moran, fired from ABC. I mean, we went through hell and back because there was only one truth. And you were only allowed to speak one truth. And if you dared, right? If you dared to say anything different, then you were in a really, really, really bad spot. I mean, look, this is the guy, don't forget, that Donald Trump just took down in an interview, I want to say a few months ago. And then for some reason, this guy just decided to like lose it on a late night Twitter rant over a weekend. But remember him?
He wasn't a member of a gang. And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute
well,
over that.
Wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattooed.
Oh, he had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was Photoshopped. So let me
That was Photoshopped. Terry, you can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. I picked you, Terry. But you're not being very nice. He had MS-13 tattooed.
We'll agree to disagree. I want to move on to something else.
Terry, do you want me to show you the picture?
I saw the picture. We'll
and you think it was Photoshop? Well,
here we go.
Don't Photoshop it. Go look at his hand. He had MS-13.
He did have tattoos that can be interpreted that way. I'm not an expert on them. I want to turn to Ukraine, sir.
Terry,
I want to get to Ukraine.
No. He had MS as clear as you can be, not interpreted. This is why people no longer believe the news, because
when
it's
he was
fake
photographed
news.
in El Salvador, they aren't there. But let's just go on. They aren't there when he's in El Salvador.
They weren't
Take a look
there,
at the
but
photograph.
they're there now, right?
No,
but they're there
in
now.
your picture.
Terry.
Ukraine, sir.
He's got MS-13 on his knuckles.
All right.
Okay?
Well, we'll take a look at that.
You do such a disservice.
We'll take a look at
Why
that,
don't you
sir.
just say, yes, he does, and, go on to something else?
It's contested.
Now ABC's hit with this big, we might take away your license. So they got rid of that guy. That guy's now out saying that Donald Trump's the entire problem. This is exactly what our founding fathers were trying to warn about. And I just have to tell you, no, that's all wrong. It's all wrong, every bit of it, because the tyranny that the founding fathers were trying to warn about was stuff like the 51X spooks trying to gaslight everybody, saying, no, Hunter Biden's laptop is just bought and paid for by the Russians and brought to you by Rudy Giuliani, who, by the way, say a prayer for Rudy. He was in a car accident up in New Hampshire just yesterday, and we hope he's going to be okay. His son sending out a message on social media that he's hanging on and he's fighting, and he thanks everybody for the well wishes, and he's okay. But these are some pretty substantial injuries. So we'll stay tuned, and my heart goes out to Rudy. He's fundamentally a good guy and didn't deserve what he got, which was this entire team thinking that they could just take him down. And I'm sorry, but you know what? We are a special country. We are a really, really special country because of the people that came before us, because of how they put together a constitution that would enable us to be the success that we are, to give us the freedom to prosper, to give us the freedom to be unleashed, to give us the freedom to follow our principles, right? Our founders, they launched this great American experiment, and they had no idea how it was going to turn out. I'm sure they were hoping for the best, but what they were able to set up was a pure miracle. It gave us all of that freedom and all of that opportunity, unlike anything the world has ever seen, which is why everybody talks about the American dream. There is no French dream. There is no Indian dream. There is no China dream. It is the American dream. Thank you very much. Thanks to them who had the foresight to basically help set us on the right path. So we're coming up on a big, big birthday, 250 years. I mean, how amazing is that, you guys? 250 years. Like I said, we're going to have to get out the patriotic music and everything. This is a time to really enjoy all that we are as a nation, and I encourage you to. I want to tell you, our friends over at AFP, Americans for Prosperity, they're launching an initiative called the One Small Step campaign. One Small Step. They're kicking it off with 250,000 Steps for Freedom Challenge. It's a national call to action, one of the largest grassroots mobilizations really in the country to protect our freedoms and to reignite the American dream that is so important. Every step you take counts. So if you get a chance, here's what I want you to do. I'm going to put it up on the screen here. Go and visit takeonesmallstep.com. Become part of this grassroots efforts to protect our opportunity, our prosperity, our fabric, right? That makes us so uniquely American. We want to fight together for what makes America so special, and they're doing a great job of it. Again, takeonesmallstep.com. It is wonderful to have you here on Labor Day. Thank you so much for all you guys do. I'm just looking at some of your comments, and I see so many familiar faces. If you haven't liked, please make sure that you like. Please make sure a thumbs up. All of it goes a long, long way. Thank you so much for everybody being here. I'm just looking again. I get a kick out of some of these comments. You guys are the best. And again, it's tough. I'm trying to read your comments in real time. I'm trying to look at the camera in real time. We got a lot going on. Very few people could do this, right? But Trish Regan, she's at it. Actually, this is when I am at my best. I'm convinced of it. Like, this is a whole different kind of me than you guys ever got on network TV, because I had to deal with those stupid teleprompters and all the stupid middle managers. And you know what? You had to put your script in the prompter, one, so that management could look at it, and two, because the director needed to know when to fire. I mean, it's a logical thing, right? Your sound bites. And now I'm like, guess what? I get to fire my sound bites. I get to decide when I say something. It's very liberating. I love it. This is the new media. You're part of it together with me. Thank you for being here. Make sure you subscribe. Go check out my Spotify show. It's on video. And I'll see you right here again tomorrow.